Hey everybody, what's going on? Bahroo here, back with another Borderlands the pre-sequel video. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at some skill trees that I'm going to be using the moment the game launches. A lot of people have been asking me, what exactly am I going to play? And what exactly how am I going to be speccing out my character? So I figure over the next 4 days, we're going to take a look at each of the different characters and what I'm going to be using day one and what I feel like may be some of the best end-game skill trees for pre-sequel once the game launches. Now, these skill trees are subject to change, however, I don't feel like any of these are going to end up being changed considering how close we are to the launch. So anyway, with that all out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into Athena's skill tree here. Before we take a look at the Xiphos, let's go ahead and jump into the Phalanx tree. So for our first tier, we go into Ephotos, which increases your movement speed and gun damage while holding the Aspis. The reason we're doing this is because we're going to be playing a very, this is more of a shotgun-based skill set where we want to be as close to the enemy as possible. So having that extra movement speed to throw up our Aspis will help us get closer to the enemy. And our Aspis is mostly going to be used as a method of getting health regen back, assuming we can't make it to our next enemy, which is where the Vanguard skill comes in handy. While holding the Aspis, or while the Aspis is active, you and your nearby friends gain health regeneration. The health regeneration rate increases by the amount of damage the Aspis absorbs. So obviously being closer to the enemy, they're going to get more shots on you, and you're going to get more health regeneration. I'm not sure where this ends up capping out, but during our testing gameplay, during PAX, this was a very effective way of getting your health back. Then we've got Prismatic Aegis. No real reason for picking this up, so we can just kind of ignore that. It's gonna allow you to get multiple damage types, but overall, not really much. The real reason we're going into that is so we can get into Stalwart. Allows the Aegis to absorb a percentage of friendly fire damage. That way you can get even more health regeneration if your teammates decide to shoot you. And you increase your maximum health. Maximum health is very important to the Gladiator skill set because there is a skill in the Xiphos tree that heals you for a percentage of your health based on how many enemies you have bleeding. So let's go ahead and start making our way down that tree and explain why that is so important. So first off, we've got Gun Kata, which increases your gun damage passively. In addition, your melee damage is increased by a short duration. This is actually 10 seconds. It's increased for a short duration after shooting an enemy. So this is like Zero's Be Like Water, only it's not terrible. You will have that melee damage passively, so it's not that hard to just do a shot and then sprint over to the enemy and just beat the hell out of them. Next, we've got Clarity of Purpose. The melee damage from this is actually kind of insignificant because it doesn't fall very... it's not very good where it falls in the melee tree, or the melee formula rather. But we do want that maximum health. As I said, getting as much maximum health is very good as Athena, and her relic choice, or rather Ozkit choice, is going to be something that increases maximum health. Next we have Omega Senshu, which increases your damage dealt when they are under 50% health. This is basically a reverse version of Maya's Reaper skill for those who played Borderlands 2, where it increased damage dealt when they are above 60% health, but this is the reverse where they're under. Also take note that this says increased damage, so this will be multiplicative as well as being for your gun and for your melee. So overall, a very good skill to have. Next, we've got Mercurial. These are where the extra points go into. This is a kill skill that increases your movement speed and damage for a few seconds. Or sorry, damage resistance for a few seconds. So the movement speed is really nice to have. Being able to increase the length at which you dash is really nice. I've noticed that during our play session, increasing your movement speed does increase the distance at which you dash, and the damage resistance is kind of nice, but not really required. You'll have more than enough health regeneration to keep yourself alive. Next, we have one of the main skills of this tree, which is Rend. Your melee attacks cause enemies to bleed, inflicting damage over time. The damage is increased against higher health targets. And the damage also benefits from your melee bonuses. This means your roid, your melee attachments, your melee guns, anything like that, Rend will get a benefit from. Even though during our play session we only got our hands on a really bad green roid with terrible parts, we were able to use Rend to kill a lot of enemies. And against badasses, the Rend does get a very significant damage buff. So you won't have to worry about this skill becoming useless against stronger enemies. And I imagine during the raid boss, it will get an even larger buff, but we can't really tell for sure until we actually mess around with that. But either way, Rend is very important because if you'll notice that bleed duration is 12 seconds. Bleed duration up to 12 seconds. Now the reason that's important is because of Bloodlust. Gain health regeneration whenever you make an enemy bleed for the duration of the bleed effect. This effect stacks if you have multiple bleeding enemies. So this is a 4% of your maximum health every second per bleeding enemy. So if I melee one enemy and just let them bleed out for 12 seconds, I've regenerated 48% of my maximum health. If I hit 2 of them, then I've basically topped myself off and gone to full health with just 2 bleeding targets. Now the reason this is important is because if we go over to our Aspis, this is active for 11 seconds, which means that you will be able to hit 2 targets and bring up your Aspis and get full health reliably every single time. You won't have to worry about anything else, and the Aspis does make you immune to all damage coming from in front of you. So as long as you make sure there's nothing hitting you from the back, you will be fine and be able to get a full health regen at any given moment. Now, Rend also has a lot of synergy with the Capstone, but we'll go over that in just a second. First, we've got Tear. Increases gun damage dealt to bleeding targets. Now, you're going to be dashing all across the battlefield, and as soon as you bleed a target, you can then immediately shotgun them in the face, because the dash that is the Capstone will bring you into the perfect range to do so. So an extra 35% gun damage is really nice. So for our Capstone, we have Blood Rush, melee override skill to dash towards the enemy and strike them with the Xiphos, with increased melee damage. This ability has a cooldown if the attack, applies a bleed to a target that is not bleeding or kills the target, the cooldown is immediately reset. So what this means is that if you dash towards an enemy and there's an enemy beside him, you can dash towards him as well, putting bleeds on both targets and still not having a cooldown, which then you can either dash the first target again or dash a new target. This is what I meant by you will be able to dash across the battlefield very easily, and the dash is actually very significant, almost twice the length as Zero's execute skill. Maybe even more than that with enough movement speed increases. So this is going to allow you to just jump from target to target, applying as many bleeds as possible, as well as increasing your gun damage towards all of them, giving you health regeneration. If they're under 50% health, your second dash will do even more damage. If you get in a tough spot, you can use your Aspis and have as much regeneration as you want, giving you more movement speed to get closer to the enemy, and you've got additional maximum health with that. So now you can see why I've decided to choose this as my skill tree for Athena. It's going to make you a very strong powerhouse. It's going to be very melee based with a lot of shotgun synergy. So Jacob's weapons, Torg shotguns, those quads are going to really shine in this build. And I can't wait to get actual gameplay of it for you guys in the pre-sequel. And I hope you all enjoyed this kind of skill tree overlook of what I'm going to be playing in the pre-sequel. As always, guys, if you enjoy this kind of video, be sure to come back over the next few days. I will be going over Wilhelm, Nisha, and Claptrap, and going over skill trees that I'll be playing as them, as well as explaining, the skills, how they work, and why, what kind of guns I'm going to be using with them. Obviously, unique guns like legendaries may change up the spec a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of synergy with something else, but overall, this seems like a very strong build. You guys let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments section below. And yeah, that'll be it for this video. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe for future Borderlands pre-sequel videos. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Later. Athena. Dashing all around. Speed of sound. Sanic. Sanic!